You are, Guru Maharaj. Please accept our humble obeisances. Grace to Srila Prabhupada.
Namo Shivaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sadigaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. This meeting is being recorded. Okay. Well, lovely to see everybody. You have to forgive me if I'm just sort of making myself ready. But, I'm just looking at all of the devotees who are here. I can't mention everyone. Vanamalini, Nishinga Krishna and Krishna Mala. Malini, I see Malini. That's about the most I see of her, as if I get to see her on the internet. And of course I see Chaitanya Chandra, Andre. Aha. Confirm you're speaking language. Turkish. Switch to a different language.
No, that's a new feature. I don't know why that's come up. I think you can just cancel that, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. Oh, and there I see Andre. Now I know what you look like, Andre. I see you have a nice white beard. Hare Krishna. And I see Nandita in the bottom, and then who else are there? Anangaranga. Who is that? Who's in the? Oh yeah, there was Yashashwini reinitiated you, calling you Ananda Radha. She was telling me that Ananda Radha is coming here. I couldn't figure out who Ananda Radha was. And Haridas, I see you over there. Hare Krishna. And below you is Avatari. And so many nice devotees. Kanchana and Sanjay. Hare Krishna. I'm trying to make my plans. Gaura Krishna Prabhu and Gokula Chandra, Vaishnav Das. Kinkari. Where are you, Kinkari? You're in Budapest? Are you in Budapest?
Yes, I'm in Budapest.
Budapest, okay. And so many devotees. Rasikananda. I have 2 members of the family over here. And they're doing very good. Well, I can't call everyone's name. I see Hira Gopi and Amrita Sindhu and Adi Shakti. Yeah, we have to make decision. Well, when you come here, make decision about Dubai. And hey, Bhavamai, when are you coming back to New Rajadam? When your husband lets you?
In summer, We will go to New Rajadhama in some June, July.
Okay, okay. And Gora Prema. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you. There's so many devotees here, so I can't go through the whole list. Otherwise, that's what. And there's Bhakti Devi. You're in one room, and Rasikananda's in another.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Does that imply something?
No.
Okay, I don't think so. Yeah. How many years you been married?
21.
Hare Krishna. Bravo. That's worth a hand nowadays. Okay. I am in. I was just going to say I'm in New Rajadam, but I don't think I'm in New Rajadam. I'm in. I'm in Shridham Mayapur. I'm looking at the picture of Panchatattva, so it's clear that I'm here. And if I go backwards, we just came today from Calcutta. I was there for one full day. And I was purchasing marble and onyx for completing things in our apartments over here. I don't know how many years we've been here. How many years we've been here?
2016. 2016 we came, so that's 7.
7 years we've been here, and things are not still just quite finished. But that's sort of the way it goes. Even things at the farm after 30 years aren't quite finished. And then from there we came with a crew of devotees. We were in Vrindavan, and specifically I went for Govinda Swami Maharaj's Vyas Puja. He asked me, which is a first, because usually he's sort of quite shy about having god brothers around and god sisters, but I went, and particularly there was one of his disciples, devotees, who was getting initiated, and from Dubai, and she also requested that I go, because I often stay at their place when I go there, and they've been very wonderful donors. So that's a question for Kanchana and family, and then here Gopi is whether I actually come to Dubai. But anyway, that was the plan, and I'm just trying to convince Maharani Devi Dasi, the Hungarian Maharani. The other one isn't here, right? No. How is she?
She's okay. She's recovering, Gurumash, but she can't go up too many steps.
Yeah, should just rest. That's really good that you're back, and that of course it's easier in the mind when I'm trying to plan that we just, our team over here, we go by car from here to North India, and we stop in Varanasi on the way overnight, and probably there are holy places. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went between here and there, and then from Varanasi, well, we have to see how the roads go. Kurukshetra, and then I definitely, whatever this plan is, I want to go to Shukatal. I've been to Kurukshetra a couple of times, but I've never been to Shukatal. You've been? No. Shukatal, where Shukadev Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam. So it's on the way to Rishikesh. I've seen signs going up to Rishikesh, Shukatal. It's maybe, I don't know, you can already see the mountains from there. And then maybe go to Rishikesh and Haridwar, and then come back to go back to Jaipur. And who knows, stay in Jaipur. Someone offered me a big house that would accommodate everybody, although it's out of town a little. And then from there go to Madan Mohan's place, which is called Karoli. And we'd go to Karoli, and then from Karoli to Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. So, whether I survive the trip or not is something else, but it really sounds good. The more I think about it, the better it sounds. Yeah, there were many. I just missed up many opportunities to visit holy places in India. So many holy places, especially associated with Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Devotees go on Chardham Parikrama, but our parikramas are related to places of those two lords. We don't really get involved in other places. We don't have time. Why? Particularly because they're not related to our bhajan. They're not related to our meditation, to our cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Anyway, that's the idea for the future. And of course, I don't know, when did we have the last conference, Chaitanya Chandra?
Would have been about a week before Janmashtami.
Oh. So, in the beginning of October, we came here. Of course, we stayed there for Janmashtami and Radhastami, and we had wonderful festivals. And then we came here to Mayapur, and have been here in Mayapur up until the beginning of January. It's been a wonderful time. Reading, chanting, eating, in that order. Not reading really, but writing and reading together. And a lot of devotees coming to visit, which is nice. And I hear even more devotees are coming to visit. Sometimes we're like a booking agency over here, arranging accommodation for devotees. Shambhi Hari arranges parikrama for devotees. I haven't gone out on parikrama yet. They went to Kolkata, and I heard news that that was really wonderful parikram. And the place with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srila Prabhupada met. It was nice, Adi.
Best thing ever.
That's what Devamita Maharaj told me when he came from there. He says it was the most spiritual place I've been to. And they have rooms where you can stay.
1 or 2 rooms only for VIPs, sannyasis like that.
Oh, sounds good. So we've been busy, and I hope everyone also has been busy in Krishna consciousness. Now we start off with we have aspirants Chaitanya Chandra list, and
Yes, Raj.
and I usually just go over them, acknowledge them. Maybe devotees are waiting. Well, when do we have the? I'm just opening that. Oh, no, not Shimata. I'm just opening. Excuse me. Yeah, Shiksha Diksha. What was I saying? Right.
Aspiring disciples. Aspiring.
Oh yes, and some devotees may think that it would be better if I just went on to class and questions, because it's more relevant to them. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Divya Kali Krishna Atma Samarpan, that when a devotee takes Krishna consciousness seriously, here we talk about initiation, then at that time, Jai Kali, Krishna brings him into his, accepts him as his own, as a member of his own spiritual family. So, spiritual family of servants of Krishna in general. And so it's nice to see who are the devotees who are really aspiring to make that serious step forward, as Krishna says, then Paripatena, Paripashnena, Shevaya, Upadikshanti te Jnanam, so that in that order someone is approaching submissively, rendering inquiries, offering obeisances. So these are the dakshina that devotees first bring to a senior Vaishnava. So I'm going to go through the list. There's Ambika Patel in the UK, and I've met her before, and Andre Lavoie from Montreal, Canada. I mean, I can't say that's a main qualification, but it's certainly something that not very often that devotees from Montreal register for such commitment. And yes, he's recommended by Medya Devi Dasi, my god sister. She joined at the same time as I, and she's already been in New Rajadam before, and she's a really wonderful devotee. And then Benny, Bhakta Benny Titgat from Belgium, Radhadesh, and Gopinath Prabhu, the representative of the deities. Then we have Bontapal in Hungary, in Miskolc. I feel bad, I don't think I've been in Miskolc in 20 years. Such a good place. We had, so Hare Krishna, and equally elusive Kamala Devi Dasi was recommending him, and Bhaktin Kamila in Hungary, Budapest, and Radha Vinodini is counselor. That's interesting. I'm glad for that. And then we have Bhaktin Dalma, who was also in Budapest, Hungary, and was really enjoying the marathon as well. Both those girls did really nice. And that's a big qualification, is someone who's willing to do Tapodevya Putra Kajina Shatvam, who does tapasya on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. So Jason Southgate is in the UK and in Watford at that. That's also a near and dear place. Watford, as long as we don't talk about the Watford Hospital. And is recommended by Prabhu Das, who I don't know. Is there Prabhu Das there? That must have been someone Prabhu. No, is there Prabhu Das?
No, it's his counselor from Italy. Yes, I think he's just returned from Italy to the UK.
Okay. And Khushbu, yes, from the UK, from Coventry. Varshney, could be a Hungarian name. And wonderful place. Varsha, Bagela. So there's another devotee from that very famous place, Stanmore, UK. If you've heard of Stanmore, if you haven't missed anything. And Adhoks. Okay, Adhoks, are you there online?
Hare Krishna, Bhagwan, please accept my brothers.
Hare Krishna. Adhoks, he came when he was 13 or 14? First time. 14 you were when we first met, and said he wants to, join the ashram. So, okay, come back later. But he did, and he was there all summer long, distributing books in Budapest, and something that's very uncharacteristic, say, of new devotees. He was smiling and enjoying it all the way through. Never, which was really wonderful, and that enthused everyone. So you were asking me whether you should come back to Hungary. I said, yeah, I don't know, I just got a report from Gauramani Prabhu that, like, you were one of the devotees who was made in Budapest sounded like you were a Budapest person, but in any case, they're all waiting for you and counting on you. So yeah, please come. And Bhakta Gauranga, his mother's here, been coming for lunch. Did she go with you down to Calcutta? No. And he did fantastic on the marathon, and he's on full-time Sankirtan since then, even before then. Okay, then we have Yuhas Zsuzsa, who's there in Hungary, and Maharani. Devi Dasi is her counselor, and Kézér Tünde from Szolnok. So now I know what she looks like. Yeah, now I recognize her. And she's serving in Szolnok and New Vrajadam, and Malini is her sponsor. And Szilágyi Zsolt from also Budapest, yes, Hare Krishna. And last but not least is Valentina Shukova from Russia, although she's actually being cultivated by Keshava Priya in Turkey. So, welcome to all of devotees, aspirants. Well, let's, I don't know, I was never so keen on this word, but I haven't been able to find a new one since then. Someone who's aspiring, the devotees come up and say, who are you aspiring for? It just somehow sounds, well, it doesn't sound cultish, but doesn't. In any case, we're aspiring for to be servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada, and of course the Vaishnavas. And anyhow, I already went through this once about this word. I shouldn't continue. So that's what it is. It so happens at times, in fact, I just had two or three devotees who were just like that, were aspirants, and who nicely wrote me that they wanted permission to turn their attention to another Vaishnava, and I said, sure, that's what this is about. And although I can't remember in the immediate near past, but certainly sometimes I feel that devotees are better off or can be better guided, suitably guided by some other devotee, Vaishnava, and may even recommend somebody, which I think may happen more and more. More in the future, when I suggest to devotees that they take, since I'm there anyway in Hungary, they take, especially the Hungarians now I'm speaking of, I'm going to have to stop speaking for a while because of my voice. Devotees want to chant Hare Krishna. Okay. Okay, I'll try. Thank you. Not in the near past, but it's happened when, yes, oh yes. So I recommend devotees that maybe you should take initiation from this devotee, Hungarian devotee who's initiating. I mean, right now there's two, but hopefully we're moving on to a few more. Bhaktivedanta Goswami or Mahaprabhu Swami, and I'm there anyway, so whatever classes you hear, you're going to hear them for me, and my presence will be the same, and I'll be accessible to any devotee as I am to initiated disciples, and of course more and more I'm less and less accessible to initiated disciples, which is saffron, which is one of the reasons why I should be more selective, because it's one thing that some devotees have known me for 30, 40 years, and they've seen, at least they see things in a larger perspective, that when, I was the person who was doing all of the preaching to everybody, to that person who's sort of rarely seen, and that's exactly what spiritual master shouldn't be. And the spiritual master should be someone who you regularly see, hear, who you receive training from, and spiritual guidance and education. And so that's one reason that possibly in the future more and more I may tell so-called aspirants, no, better that you consider someone else. And once the alternatives are sort of nicely in place, meaning other devotees, and most of the time now I'm speaking about Hungarians in Hungary, then somehow we'll have some kind of filter system where it's not even me who has to make that recommendation. But more about that later. So that's what aspires. Someone who's aspiring, it doesn't represent what's happening on the other side, and it doesn't really represent that it's really a test period, trying to get to know each other better. But one aspect of getting to know each other better, the only way you get to know each other better, is if you spend more time together. Otherwise, it really wasn't a proper test examination. I get to know a lot about Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, when I see how they do service, when I exchange the occasional word with them. I don't have to sit down and have a talk with them every day. And they get to see what it's like, or at least what my life is like and what I'm doing, and see how much actually interaction I'm currently doing. So it gives a fair appraisal. That's why I always tell devotees, aspirants, listen, if you want to do that, I'd really appreciate if either you spend time here in Mayapur, since I am here half the time, or come to Hungary, since I'm there the other half the time. UK, I just visit, but that's it. And if devotees can't do that, then what is the point? What's the purpose? We're just depending then on the internet, and which is not impossible, but I don't think it's needed when there are so many devotees available all over the world with whom someone actually can take initiation and accept as guru. As Srila Prabhupada wrote, that generally the person who gives the most shiksha becomes the Diksha Guru. That's the idea. It's not just an ideal, it's what makes sense. So, Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu sent, I asked him what should we speak about, and he gave me the 10th canto, no, 11th canto, 10th chapter, verse 6. If any of you have it at hand, or you can access on your laptops or telephones, and it's Krishna's description of, in this case, the qualification of a disciple. Now, if I remember right, that this is more for devotees who are, I mean, it's for devotees, but anyway, I won't continue that train of thought. In any case, it's for disciples, and there are different examples of qualifications for Vaishnavas. Now I'm talking about both end, either the disciple end or the guru end, who are either devotees, pure devotees, jnanis, karmakandis, and so on. So Shastra gives different things, and the general qualifications are applicable to everyone. For instance, being submissive to the spiritual master, it's a common, just like in the army. It doesn't matter which army in the world you're in, there are really common factors. The enemy may be different, but what you do in the army, well, especially in the army, is generally very, very similar. So we see that there are those absolute and Swarup, the real Swarup Lakshana, the primary qualification of a disciple. And then there is the Tatashta Lakshana, or there is the marginal. I've explained before, Swarup Lakshana is the essential qualification of something that is inherent as its nature. And the Tatashta Lakshana is not essential, but it actually assists in the development of that essential quality. So, what's one Swarup Lakshana of a disciple? It has to be submissive to the spiritual master. So, this is a principle of learning. It's going to get a little stuffy in here, isn't it? Can you open that door? Mm-hmm. That's good. And so obedience is one, and this is not just for devotees. This is in school. When you go to school, then you have to be obedient to your teacher. And now we see that there's a tendency more and more is that the educational system breaks down. Children are more and more ill-behaved, and as a result of that, they're not submissive to teachers, and when you're not submissive to your teacher, then the effectiveness of education just goes down, 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 down. So from here, this is now a karmi qualification, but it's inseparable from the very nature of a disciple. As Prabhupada would say, disciple means discipline. It's a very good word. It really represents what it's all about. You accept that discipline from a superior authority. And a Tatashta Lakshan, well, that, you know, every morning you put on, when you rise in the morning, you put on tilak. Say in those cultures where tilak is there, if it's not, it's called adorning the body or anointing the body. So Gaudiya Vaishnavas put this type of tilak. Madhavacharyas put this type of tilak. Shaivites put this type of tilak. Now everyone puts tilak. What has it got to do with the identity of a devotee? Well, it helps you. It helps you identify as actually a servant of your guru. So as I mentioned before, this point about when Prabhupada told a disciple that he didn't like them to have beard. He said, it's not the beard, it's the principle. The principle is that nothing's going to happen. You're not going to become less Krishna conscious by wearing a beard, mustache, long hair, short hair, bald head. These are all details. But when this becomes an order of the spiritual master, then the detail becomes a principle. So if there's no order regarding it, then whether you have short hair, long hair, doesn't matter. But when the spiritual master says, and what Prabhupada always wanted, we should not look like hippies, we should not look like people outside, we have our own identity, then Prabhupada said, it's the principle. And that principle was that you're not submissive to me because I said you shouldn't do that. So this is an example of how the marginal characteristic actually can then become a primary or intrinsic characteristic. Okay, so, well, if you've got the verse in front of you, then we can repeat. Well, we're certainly not going to get warm now. We're not going to get stuffy here, but it's good to have a little air. Amaniya matsaro daksho nirmamo dridhasurida ashatvarortag jigyasu anashuyur amogavak amanamatsaro daksho nirmamo dridhasurida ashatvarorta jigyasu anashuyuramogavak. Okay, I'm going to just go to the translation. The servant or disciple of the spiritual master should be free from false prestige. He should never consider himself to be the doer. He should be active and never lazy, and should give up all sense of proprietorship over the object of the senses, including his wife, children, home, and society. He should be endowed with feelings of loving friendship towards the spiritual master, and should never become deviated or bewildered. The servant or disciple should always desire advancement in spiritual understanding, should not envy anyone, and should always avoid useless conversation. Well, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So obviously we'll just go from quality to quality and speak a little about them. There are so many there, and we have just a little over a half an hour. So we'll start. The servant or disciple of the spiritual master should be free from false prestige, amani. So, free from pride. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, shotam, arjavam. So, these are this is one condition that I'll be trying to treat when we go back to Hungary. We'll have an operation quite soon after, following week, when we get there, to alleviate this, although I'm not quite sure that doctors have got it 100%, but it's what's causing it. But you can see that, and just in case anyone is getting some ideas, I'm not getting choked up in ecstatic love. This is not it's not an anubhava. Although that is one symptom of an anubhava. This is unfortunately something that interferes with many things. So, false prestige, this whole idea that I'm Krishna's servant. Servant means to serve, and serve means kim kara. What should I do? Kim kara. Kara means like karma. So what should I do? Kim. Kim means what? So this is the nature. Kinkara, kinkari. Male or female, but the principle is always the same. And false prestige really means I'm nobody's servant. But we are. We're everybody's servant. Jiva Swarupoi Nitya Krishna Das. And especially when we think that we're nobody's servant, that means that we're the material energy servant. Prabhupada would always say, it's your choice. You want to serve Maya, you want to serve Krishna. Take your choice. It's all up to you. So that false prestige, Ishwaraham. So when Krishna in the 16th chapter is talking about demoniac characteristics, Ishwaraham, aham bhogi, siddhoham. So if he says Ishwaraham, I am the controller. So when if you're not a servant, you're not a servant because you want to control. You want to be the master. And that is our disease here in the material world. We're here because we want to enjoy, because we consider ourselves one way or the other. We want to, men have that mood of enjoyment in one way, women have that mood of enjoyment in another way. Every species has it. But our real business, and you can see, you can train a dog to be very easily to be a servant. You can train literally any animal to do that, or at least probably less and less as their consciousness goes down, but it's there inherently. It's there in the heart of every living entity. Ishvaraham, aham bhogi. No, excuse me. Krishna is saying that Riddhe Shri Arjuna Tishtari. So I'm situated in everybody's heart. So at least here, when we talk about this, there are different stages of developing these qualities. One is that in the principle, it's there. I remember when I was a young devotee and I had to take an instruction, which was sort of a new thing, at least new thing since I left home, that I didn't have to take instruction. So the tendency to sort of, there's an automatic reaction. Someone says, especially if they don't say it in exactly the right way and in a very respectful attitude, when they say, just do this, then you want to react, but you check yourself. So, I know what I should do, I know what my duty is, but nonetheless, there's an inherent reaction, because this has been my second nature now for such a long time. First nature, not even the second nature. And then it takes time. But then as time goes on, then it becomes natural, and those reactions subside, and they subside until devotees feel very comfortable with that. That's one stage, and then of course it's still theoretical. I haven't realized my Swarup, I haven't realized what my service is to Krishna. That goes on further and further, but at least that stage where I embrace this philosophical identity, yes, that I'm Krishna's servant, and I'm the servant of the representative of his servant. And that's what's very important. Just like we have, for instance, some deviant philosophies that have this idea that, I'm only Prabhupada's servant. I don't have to beat around the bush. That's the Ritvic philosophy, that Prabhupada's servant, and, I take Upadikshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana, that just refers to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, we can close the door somewhat. Yeah, just leave it there so we got fresh air. So, but no, Gopi Bharata Padakamayor, Dasa, 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 Anudasa. So, yes, we're servant of the servant of the servant, because that then becomes the qualification. There's no such thing as being the servant of one person or the servant of a few people. Amani and Amatsara, not considering oneself to be the doer. I worked so hard, I've received this, and this was the result of my work. Actually, I was just thinking, the other day I was thinking about Srila Prabhupada, and one of the responses Srila Prabhupada would give is that, devotees pick him up in a big car, and he's got a lot of followers, Prabhupada would say, I have a palace, 100 palaces around the world in which I can live in. And someone would criticize that, well, you know, this is, isn't this a little too much? Prabhupada said, I've worked for it. And it's true. From one perspective, yes. But even though Prabhupada worked for it, he never thought that it was mine. And not because I worked for it, therefore I deserve the result. Because I worked for it, Krishna gave this result. So never that I'm the devoter. Ahankara, this is so ahamkara. I am the doer. So janasya mahoyam aham mameti. So I and mine. I'm the doer. A basic ingredient of this I am a doer is that God is just at best, a person who's fulfilling others' desires, and this is what the Karma Mimamsa philosophy is. And Krishna, when he's speaking to Nanda Maharaj, he sort of points out this philosophy. Well, if there is a God, which is very funny, Krishna standing there and he's saying, well, if there is a God, then he's obliged to give the results of people's activities. Well, Krishna is not obliged in any case to give people's activities. Maybe the laws of nature, which is Krishna's empowered mechanism, acts in a certain way, and we see that. Devotees sometimes think, well, you know, I got up in the morning, I was in a wrong consciousness, wrong state of mind, and I, you know, ran down and I really wasn't prepared for it, but I got some kind of special mercy. And it came from no reason, and then when I really work really hard, then how come I get no result? Or sometimes devotees on Sankirtan, they go out and everything's falling, you know, out of the sky. And next time they go out and they really, really try hard and it doesn't come. Why? Because Krishna wants to beat it in our heads that we are not the doer. That ultimately the results come from Him, and it's one way of getting us to actually accept this fact that yes, we're a servant, and as a servant, I mean the word servant isn't necessarily ideal, because a servant you usually connect with a salary. In other words, they get some remuneration. Slave isn't ideal because it has very bad connotations. But it's actually more like that. The word das or dasi is more somewhere in between the two. Someone who serves without any condition and without expecting any remuneration. And part of the remuneration is not that we just want to get paid. All right, I don't want to take a salary. Part of the remuneration is that I'm not expecting any kind of result for my service. Krishna just wants me to serve. Whether it's fruitful or it's not fruitful, doesn't matter. So, daksha, and that one is not lazy. So devotees should always be, I was just telling some devotees the other day, they were just sort of chanting, but necessarily without any attention, or just sitting. And I said, well, why don't you have a book? Why aren't you memorizing verses, shlokas? There's so much opportunity, so much spare time in a devotee's life, where there's so much time where you can do two things at once, because some things you're doing automatically, and make the most of that time. Don't be lazy. So lazy doesn't just mean lying around. That's also part of being lazy. But lazy also means not making the most of your time. So, therefore, what is a qualification of a devotee? And avyartakalatram. Namagana sadaruchi. Avyartakalatram. This is an example. This is actually qualification of a bhava bhakta. But it should also be the qualification of any devotee, or at least every devotee should strive for that. Making the best use of my time. And what's the best use? Okay, somebody asks, what's the best use? Well, you figure that out. You see, how much time am I getting to do all of those things that I've heard from my spiritual master, reading, chanting, memorizing shlokas, and so on. So how much of that time am I doing? And avoiding, now I should say avoiding necessary sleeping, but having said that, I slept sort of half the way over here in the car, which was very rare for me to fall asleep. It's no good falling asleep in the car, because if something happens, you're asleep, and you're not going to be able to react in the same Krishna conscious way as if you're awake. So, Akshay, and nirmama, without any sense of proprietorship over one's wife, children's homes, that no, nothing is mine. So, now here, it obviously talks about the grihastha, because if you're talking about wife or husband or home and children, then you're talking about a grihastha, you're not talking about a brahmachari. What then to speak of for the brahmachari? And as I mentioned, when I say that, I give that example, I know devotees who responded, well, I couldn't live like that, when we joined, and we didn't have anything, we had no possessions. We had our own toothbrush, and that was your suchi kit. We had our own toothbrush. We had a congregational toothpaste, which was mustard oil and salt. That really didn't go well with my sensitive teeth. But still, that was what we used. That was Prabhupada's recommendation. And we didn't have our own clothes. At night, you throw this into a big bucket, which is the laundry bucket. And, in the morning, in another bucket, there's dhotis and kurtas, and the ladies had the same thing. And you just fish things out. And whatever's there, all the way from your kurta to your kalpan, nothing beyond to you. Everything's just in there. And if, it happened to have been taken, and there was only one set. So, yeah, then it was very clear. Nothing's ours. It was very clear in everybody's minds. No one had any particular possessions or. So no sense of proprietorship. And so once again, well, does that mean I'm supposed to renounce the world? No. You're just not supposed to have this sense of proprietorship, this ownership. Sarva karma palatyagam. This is the essence of sannyas. So sannyas means that someone gives up the results of his work, gives up the sense of ownership over those things that one's using in the service of Krishna. So if you have a home in the service of Krishna, then you have a home. If you're sleeping under a tree in the service of Krishna, then that's all right, then you have that tree. And in order to avoid thinking, this is my tree, so Goswamis would never sleep under the same tree. Why would they not sleep? Because you stay there long enough and you say, oh, that's my place. It's not my place. I never know what could happen. Lightning could strike it, and my place is gone. It's finished. So, no, there's no sense of proprietorship. That is the additional risk of family life. Family life, riddaya grantiyahu, makes this knot in the heart. What we're trying to do is unravel the knots in the heart, or rather cut them, and we have to be very careful that we're not actually tightening the knots instead of unraveling them. And when one is, the closer you are to the objects of the senses as conditioned souls, the more the likelihood that we become attached. And it's something is mine. I have this sense of proprietorship. I own. If I own, I control. If I control, I'm a controller, and I'm no longer a servant. Surida. Narada Muni also says, and I think that was the other question that Chaitanya Chandra asked, but we're not going to get around to that one, is Narada Muni says, Tasmat Saurida Saurida Brahmachari Guru Kule Vasadanto Guru Hitan Acharan Nishto Tasmat Saurida Saurida. So Nietzsche, Tasmat Saurida Saurida. So Surit, Rit means heart. Surit means very dear to one's heart, very close to one's heart. So but it's translated, who's close to your heart, here's a certain rasa comes in, not just as a master, it's a simultaneous relationship. Master, but also as a friend. So how do you do that? Well, there are many relationships, many rasas that are a combination. One for sure, for instance, we see all of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have Mother Sachi, who has a Vatsalya ras, but she considers herself to be the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have Advaitacharya, who's also in the position of not only just sort of a father position, but as a guru. Lord Chaitanya would accept him as a guru. But still he thinks himself to be the servant. So similarly, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that Balaram, from Lord Balaram, Srimati Radharani, all the way down, whatever relationship one has with Krishna, still everyone thinks Krishna Das Samui, Nui Krishna Das, Dasradasa, Anudas. So that I'm a servant of Krishna, I'm a servant of Krishna. There's a special type of sweetness to be had in relationship to this, I'm a servant of Krishna. For instance, even the girlfriends of Srimati Radharani, but at the same time they also take great pleasure in serving her. It's a very, very sweet relationship, very nice relationship to be in the position of servitude. It's much more tasty than to be in a position of like spiritual master. There's more taste to it. So this is why Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because there's more taste to being Srimati Radharani, the servant, than there is to being God. There's more taste to being the devotee than there is to being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he says, I think Radharani enjoys pleasure 1,000,000 times more than I do. So that gives you an idea. But friendship also means that the spiritual master is also a person. And now this will apply more to a Gurukula setting, where you're really living with the Guru. And you don't just see him as the person who's giving class, see him as the person who is an authority figure because you see him from a distance, but because you're living with him, then it's inevitable that you see him as a person. Or at least it should come around to seeing him as a person. And when you see him with a person, then it's not something that's compulsory, because the most important relationship is that I'm Das. But it's also facilitates a different type of exchange. But that will not happen for devotees who are distant. This is one of the reasons I always ask devotees will come and spend some time, and we can spend time together. It's an opportunity to develop a more personal, not in opposition to an impersonal relationship, but more of a personal relationship. In other words, the rasa expands somewhat, and from the point of view of the spiritual master, it's also rewarding. So, what does Krishna say about being treated as the Supreme Personality of God? It doesn't give me any pleasure at all. So, if you read 4th chapter of Adi Lila, then Krishna is saying, I don't get any enjoyment out of this. All right, it's my business as God. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to play the role. The king plays the role of the king. But he couldn't play that role if he didn't have some kind of very intimate interaction that would actually support him as a person. And that's why Krishna is so much more attached and attracted to being in Vrindavan, because there they don't relate. It's not that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's that he's Krishna. And even if they think of him as their servant, they don't necessarily think of him as their servant because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's just because he's so wonderful. So that type of relationship will come, and it may happen that as a result of that, you see that there's some sort of, there may be friction between devotees, someone who has a closer friendly relationship with the Guru, as opposed to someone who has more of a servitude relationship. And one doesn't necessarily understand, or at least the servant doesn't understand the relationship of the friendly relationship. It's just like acharyas explain that devotees practicing regulated devotional service and very fixed in that, without being well educated in the science of spontaneous devotional service, they can't relate to devotees who exhibit certain symptoms of spontaneity and practice Krishna consciousness then in a somewhat different way. In other words, they have a more spontaneous approach to serving Krishna, as opposed to a more authoritative approach. So, fixed in a mood of loving friendship, who is the worshipable deity? So, simultaneously worshipable deity and simultaneously friendship. Obviously, you can't forget the latter, even if someone has that friendship. And then, of course, Prabhupada writes repeatedly that that's a risky position, that it's risky to come close to the deity, it's risky to come close to the spiritual master, because you have to maintain this balance that yes, he is a mood of loving friendship with someone who's your worshipable deity. So both things have to be there. And this, what's it called? Familiarity. So familiarity breeds contempt. Why does it breed contempt? Because you start to see the human side, and the human side is that depends on one's vision, but the human side is that someone may make mistakes and do things and have a certain personality, and so those things are not necessarily, if someone loses perspective that this is a deity, then not deity in the form of like deity like Krishna, that he's become deified, but that is the person who I'm worshipping. Ashatvara, becoming bewildered due to material passion. So, tato rajas, tato lamba, kama, loba, strayastaye, chetar, etar, anavrityam, stita, sattve, prasidati. It's the duty of the disciple to keep himself in mode of goodness. And that means all of these things that are here. What is my duty? So we talk about what's the qualifications of it and the duty of a spiritual master. Okay, well, first of all, what's the qualifications of a disciple? And or do you really actually have them? When the spiritual master is emphasizing reading, quality chanting, having regular sadhana, if one does not have those things, then he will descend down into passion. And when you're in passion, then the chances of going further down are really, really increased. So devotees should be very wary of the material energy, should be very afraid of material energy. So Srila Prabhupada would pray. He would pray to Krishna, please don't let me fall down. Now, where was the question of Srila Prabhupada falling down? But when he went before some deities, then devotees would ask Prabhupada, what were you praying for? Well, I was praying to Radharasa Bihari that protects me and not let me fall down. So, yes, have to be very scared of Maya. I mean, you're scared of something, snakes, tigers. So there's all kinds of things, the Rakshasas. And we always keep a healthy distance from those who... What happens when you're scared of someone? You look at them from a safe distance. In other words, if they're... they always tell you, if you see a bear, then, stay at least 100 yards away, which is very convenient if he happens to jump out of a bush in front of you. And you're not supposed to run. You're just supposed to lay down on the ground and play dead. That's right. If you run, there's no way you're going to outrun a bear. And you're not going to climb up a tree either. So keeping a good distance, a healthy distance. So similarly, we should see, we should know what to do, what not to do. We should see how the modes of nature are working, but we should stay at a healthy distance. And what insulates? What is it that's going to insulate? Spiritual strength. And when you don't have that spiritual strength, then it's like thin or no insulation. And when you have spiritual strength, then you have real thick insulation. And that will protect you. Just like insulation protects us from the cold, these walls are not insulated. They tear down this building in the West because it doesn't have insulation. So either it has some between the blocks because they're breeze blocks. So breeze means because breeze can pass through it. So a breeze box, because part of it is just air, so air is a good insulator. But they put all kinds of other things. Notably now they put this foam and other material. Before they used to put fiberglass or what was that other material that was carcinogenic? Asbestos, yes. Asbestos. Good insulator, bad for your lungs. And Artha Jignasu, being Jignasu. Artha Jignasu, Artha Jnani. In this case, here it is Artha, that someone who really wants to, inquisitive about knowing that which has value. Artha, Anartha. So, desiring knowledge of the absolute truth. Yesterday when I was buying marble, and these people who we bought marble, everything that you see here, we bought from them before, and they're initiated disciples of Jayapataka Maharaj. So there's father and a son, huge, unbelievable, and yeah, unbelievable. I asked how much inventory have you got over here? He said, don't even ask me, I don't even want to think about it. Quality, beautiful, beautiful things. One stone, it's not actually stone from Brazil, it's quartz, dark blue, I mean, like lapis, looks like lapis. And it's probably about the same price as lapis, if it's not lapis. But it was 10,000 rupees a square foot. Square foot, just 10,000 rupees. You're gonna do a floor with that. You gotta. So that's a 10,000 rupees. That's 100 pounds.
Yes.
I still think in pounds. Yeah, 100 pounds a square foot. So, yes, someone is really inquisitive about. Oh yes, I was telling him that I asked him, "Are you chanting?" He said, "Oh yes, 16 rounds religious for every day." I said, "Are you reading Prabhupada's books?" This is the son. The father, he said, "No, I don't really read very much." I said, "But you should read." He said, "Well, my real thing is chanting." I said, "But if that's good, because you have an attraction to the holy name. But if you're interested in someone, if you love someone, then you want to know about them. But how did Krishna create this world? How does this world work? Keshava, Jagata Vichitra, Keshava, I forget, so many things I forget. It's so wonderful, it's such a wonderful, amazing place. And how does he do it? So you're curious to know these things. It's not that we don't care, we're only interested in, the rasa dance, we don't care about creation, we don't care about Mahavishnu. But yes, certainly, as time goes on, one's attention once you really know Krishna and you know these things, then you may focus your attention. But a devotee is jignasu. Tesham Gyani Nitya Yuktam Eko Bhakti Vishishyate. And Prabhupada says in the purport, if you're not jignasu, you'll fall down. If you're not a Gyani, not Gyani in the sense of being a speculator Gyani or impersonalist Gyani, but if you're not cultivating knowledge, transcendental knowledge, interest in Krishna, I want to know the person whose name I'm chanting. It doesn't make any sense. You're just calling on someone and you're not even quite sure who he is. You just know that he's God. Okay, but that's one thing. But how is he God? And what does that mean? What does it mean to be God? Anasuya, free from envy. And yes, envy of all living entities, including envy of Krishna. And of course, that's why That's what animal slaughter is considered to be, envy of another living entity. Amogavak, completely free from useless conversation. Well, that could take a long, long time, because unfortunately, we do spend a lot of time in useless conversation. That doesn't mean that devotees can't have leisurely talk, but especially if it's an issue of prajalpa, if it's an issue of finding fault, of criticizing, of these things are not part of a devotee's life. And this tongue is the most difficult thing to control, not just in terms of eating, but in terms of speaking. What do we speak? So there's so many valuable things to speak about, because that's what Krishna Katha is, and including valuable things to speak about Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. We shouldn't spoil our spiritual life by doing something else. Wonderful. Okay. I'm not going to ask for any questions. I think we should be able to have another conference. Well, if what I said was really true, then 2 months from now we're going to start getting very active, moving around. So I don't know whether it may be until we get back to Hungary. But anyway, we'll be liaising with Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, who's so kindly keeping a super control. Well, not control, but he's controlling on my request and assistance. And having such a good database for different devotees. And you know, when I wanted to know, well, do I have a disciple named Ananda Radha? And I have to look this up in my. So I look it up, and it turns out it wasn't Ananda Radha, it was Anangaranga. Okay. So thank you all very much. I hope we all have a very nice spring. At least we're coming into spring now here. Yesterday, today were very, very beautiful days. And then we'll see you again soon. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Yari 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 Bo. Hare
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you very much.